And you are locked on to the Texas Rangers. You are also locked on to the Oakland A's. This is a crossover episode with the one, the only, the fantastic Jason Burke. I know I'm the one that's bringing this in, and I'm the one on the right, which usually the person bringing it is on the left. If you're confused, we made the graphic for the last time that we did this show. We didn't want to make another one. So I'm hosting, but also on the right. We're throwing off
but also
the
not
cultural
boasting.
norms. Hosting and boasting and toasting my Coke Zero.
Yeah, cheers to that, Brice. Yeah, so if you basically we're just going to talk about some A stuff, some Ranger stuff, get a feel for how the offseason is going to be going, and not putting a lot of effort into making the graphics because we put all of the efforts into the research for this show. That's where we are. We're going to have a great time. Brice, how the heck are you?
I'm doing all right. It is the off season. The Rangers are being linked to Clayton Kershaw. They're also being linked to a few other big names, and so maybe next year won't suck as badly as this year did. I don't know. Am I, dare I say, hopeful about baseball?
Should you be though?
Probably not.
We'll see. When did you guys start sucking? That's my question.
2020.
When did, like 20?
Like
was it?
It was like
just 2020. So
it
it's
was
been
really
two?
like so. There's a short answer. It's 2020. That's when the full on bottom falling out. Like, all right, this team just for real sucks. They're scrappy. In 2017, they made game 163. 2018, they kind of, fooled themselves into thinking they were competitive. It was Adrian Beltre's last year. You had to try and do something. 2019 was a fun, scrappy team. They were competitive for the first half, kind of fell off in the second half. Like Hunter Pence was really great the first half of there. That was kind of Joey Gallo's breakout year. And then the wheels started kind of falling off. Joey got hurt. Pence, I think, also got hurt and wasn't quite as good when he came back. But yeah, basically 2020. So like of the many things that I dislike the Rangers doing, them leading into like the full tank, or not really even leaning into, just kind of accidentally falling into it, starting in the 60-game season was really nice. Just kind of ease you into it. Like, all right, here's a little 2 months of sucking at baseball. Get ready, because next year it's going to be 3 times that much time of sucking at baseball. And so I appreciate them for that.
I mean, that's the way you got to do it sometimes. And honestly, it's probably a little bit helpful as a fan of a tanking team to only do it for that one season, but then everybody's getting closer to being a free agent or a little bit more development if you are rebuilding on some guys. And so it couldn't have been that bad. I guess there's some light at the end of the tunnel, I guess is what I'm going for the teams that weren't trying necessarily. The A's did try and failed again, and then they didn't try that offseason. So here we are. I was curious after the 2021 season. Well, how did you take the 2021 season? Because obviously the Rangers weren't necessarily going for it or anything. How would you grade the Ranger season for what it was? Were there some bright spots that you were looking forward to seeing in 2022? Or yeah, that's the question. Go with that. Answer that, Brice.
How would I rate this season? How did I take it? Well, I took it like maybe 162 swift kicks to the nuts. Is what about this season was.
Except no. There was 20 or 19 games where they played the A's and, were jerks about it. So it was only like 143.
103 swift kicks to the nuts. And then, you got to add in another. Actually, you know what? 103 were the losses. And then you add in however many the math makes it. I think it's 59 that were all just Joey Gallo being traded. That's worth at least 59 swift kicks to the nuts. So, yeah, that's about how I took it this year. There are always some bright spots. Adolis Garcia was fun. And then the Baseball Writers Association of America showed that they didn't watch any Texas Rangers baseball, which, if you're a normal person or a Rangers fan, I wouldn't blame you for that. But if you're a baseball writer trying to figure out who are the best rookies and you don't watch one of the best rookies and see, oh, look, he actually did this for a whole season as opposed to 70 games, then, I tend to get upset. But
yes,
there are definitely some bright spots for next year, mostly people who are coming up, because a lot of people who are sticking around outside of like a few arms of the bullpen, Dane Dunning, Taylor Hearn was a huge bright spot. That was great. Him earning his spot back in the rotation where he hadn't been since I believe 2018, maybe 2019. It's been a hot minute since his major league debut. So, and he was legitimately really good down the stretch. So that's exciting. Both of those two guys are solid. Adolis is fun. Not quite the world beater that he was in the first month of the season, or I guess in the month of May, but still a lot of fun moments. And former Texas Tech baseball player, current, I guess, kind of future Texas Ranger Josh Young at third base will be up, and that will be incredibly fun. Love me my Texas Tech boys, and him especially because he's very good at baseball.
So who are the tent poles of this organization right now? You mentioned some guys, but who I guess is the centerpiece or the core of this team heading into 2022? And we'll get into some of the offseason plans moving forward, but who are you trying to build around right now outside of Jonah Heim, who is obviously the best catcher that has ever worn a Rangers uniform because he came over from the A's? But yeah, I'm including Pudge Rodriguez, yes.
And also,
like
oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his name. Jim Sundberg, also a former Texas Ranger.
Who?
A very, very good catcher. Goodness gracious, learn your history, young man. Learn
Jonah
your history.
Heim, number one. I like, but this isn't slander of Jonah Heim. I love Jonah Heim.
I love Jonah Heim too.
Facetious, but I thoroughly enjoy Jonah Heim. That's all that I really wanted to say there. All right, sorry, go ahead, Brice.
Well, it's kind of a question mark. I'll tell you who they should have been building around: Joey Gallo. They should have actually given him, worthwhile contract extension, but since they floated him an absolute joke of an offer, it was pretty apparent that him and his agent didn't respond. They're like, this is not anywhere close to what we're worth. Like, so much to the point that you're obviously not serious about it, so just trade him because he is worth much more than you guys are willing to pay. So that's like the truth and honest answer. But there's not a whole lot of like young guys. I mean, Nathaniel Lowe is kind of like as close to a centerpiece as you can get, which is not great. He had a fine season. Like, it was just fine. He couldn't really hit fastballs. He hit breaking balls really well. He had a pretty good on base, bad defender, not a whole lot of power as much as you would want from a predominantly offense first baseman. Isaiah Connor-Falefa is fantastic at what he does, but struggles a lot at what he doesn't. What he doesn't is hit for power and walk. And he is an excellent defender, excellent base runner. Like, seriously, one of the best defenders in baseball. I don't think people appreciate that enough about him. But he hits a lot of singles and does defense, and that, is great and fun. But at some point, you got to walk a bunch and hit for power. If IKF had the 357 on base that Nathaniel Lowe had this year, I would be over the moon. But instead, his on base was 312, which is not great for a guy who has very, very little power. He did hit 8 home runs this year, which is a big improvement for him. But, like, again, it's not a whole lot of power.
One quick question on IKF, because he is a very underrated guy, and I know that because you tell me all the time. But is his strike zone? Does he know the strike zone? I guess is my question. Is he chasing balls that are away from him? What's his deal with not walking? Because I'm an A's fan, and everybody knows the zone.
He's very aggressive. He knows the zone. He does a really good job of he doesn't swing and miss a whole lot. He makes pretty decent contact, but he's just very aggressive. He's just swinging at a lot of pitches. Pitchers are throwing him like a lot of strikes because he's not a big bomber, and usually he's been hitting first or second in the lineup. So you got to get this guy out so that there's nobody on base for the big swingers behind him in Joey and Adolis Garcia. But yeah, that's the basic tenet with him.
Yeah, I like it. Should we send it over to our first of 2 breaks today, Brice?
Yes, we absolutely should. And
all right, I did not pull those up, so you're in charge.
That's all right. I've already got it up. I'm here to talk
Sounds
about our first sponsor today, betonline.ag. We're back and better than ever. There's a new web interface for the start of basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the basketball and football action this season. Head to our new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today. Receive your 50% welcome bonus. Just use that promo code. What is it, Jason?
I actually locked on. Locked on.
I wasn't sure if you were doing a bit or not.
No, I legit forgot. I was like, is it the other one? No, it is locked on because it's one word, all caps, locked on.
You're gosh darn right it is. And, from basketball, football, NHL, boxing, UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. Boom. Now, let's talk about some baseball and about the A's. The A's who recently lost their manager to San Diego, and it makes me sad because they have such a good team, had such a good team this year, and also makes me sad that they made me look dumb for picking them to win the division. Actually, I don't look dumb for that because I would never pick the Astros, and it was literally just those two options if I didn't want to look like an absolute fool going into next season. But it seems like the A's are like on the verge of like tearing it down and rebuilding again. Who is it that the A's are about to lose that they're going to be trading before they can, get to free agency where the A's would not pay them and then lose them for nothing? Who are the guys that are looking like they're on their way out?
Excellent question. It could be everybody. It could be a couple of guys. That is one of the questions of the A's offseason is how deep is this rebuild going to go? Are they going to just try and trim a little bit of salary and, trade Matt Olson, who has 2 years of control and is coming off of, in some baseball seasons, an MVP season? Not this season, obviously, because Shohei and Vlad Jr. did their thing. But is he number 3? Maybe. I don't know.
Honestly, I might vote him number 3.
Very good season. Yeah. He's up there in that conversation, and he made some adjustments. He is becoming the guy that I didn't know that he had this level. So Matt Olson, his value's never been higher. He has 2 years of control. You can go get the moon for him and just restock your farm system if you want to. Matt Chapman, the other Matt, could go either way. I could see, because 2020 he had hip surgery halfway through the season, and then 2021 he was kind of recovering from that surgery, so he struck out over 200 times and didn't provide like elite power. He hit some bombs, but it wasn't like elite power. And
he hit 27 home runs.
I know, but it wasn't
solid.
Like 40 or 50. It was like 20. If you're striking out 200 times and you give me 27
strikeouts aren't real. Strikeouts aren't real. They're the same.
You're not real,
outs.
Bryce.
Well, I know that, but
but he also does provide elite defense, so there's that. So those two guys would be the shiniest for the fans of teams that are not the A's, that don't watch them on a day-to-day basis. And I think that for the A's, the big question with Chapman, because he's going to be paid like $8 million in arbitration, so it's not an unfathomable
eight
amount.
Million? That's so low.
Yeah, and
that's so low for how good he did.
We are the Oakland Athletics, Bryce.
I know, but still. Oh my gosh! And his strikeout to walk ratio is really good. 88 walks to 113 strikeouts. That's really solid.
He could walk a little bit, but he just was not hitting well. And
I'm talking about
him
Olson.
on a day-to-day.
I'm talking about Olson.
No, he was fantastic. Chapman you watch him on a day-to-day basis, he just couldn't lay off pitches down and away, and he was easily fooled. He never looked like he was in at. There was stretches where he did not look like he was in at bats. He would just go up there, strike out on 3 pitches, and walk back, and you're like, what the hell's wrong with him? So I think that 2022 he will recover, and his hip will be better, and he will be potentially an MVP candidate, because he always is when he's healthy. And it's just going to be a matter of teams offering up the 2020, 2021 version of Matt Chapman packages, where the A's want something closer to what they still think he can be and what he has been in like 2018 and 2019. if you can find a team that can bridge that gap, he's probably out the door as well. And then the A's could trade 3/5 of their starting rotation, and they got some good ones. You got Sean Manaea and Chris Bassett, both free agents after the 2022 season. So they'd be the most likely in that scenario just because they only have 1 year of control. But they also have Frankie Montas, who finally put it all together, finally stayed healthy for an entire season. He had like a 3.5 ERA for the entirety of 2021.
337.
330. Okay, so it was better than that. My bad, Frankie. And then if you
I just
take
have
out,
it up right in front of me, so
but if you
I
take
just knew that
out
off
like,
the top of my head.
but if you take out his couple of big blow up starts early on in the season, I think he had one at the end of June, and that was the latest that he went. He had 3 big blow up starts where he gave up like 7 runs or whatever, and whatever that happens. That was part of his game until the second half of the season. But if you take those 3 starts out, he had like a 2.5 ERA, and it looks like he's figured it out. You're a Rangers fan. You've seen his splitter at its peak. He is a dominant pitcher. He can be a team's number one. Maybe not like over Garrett Cole or over like some of the elite guys, but for a regular team, for the Rangers, he's their number one pitcher. And so they got 3 really good starting pitching options that could be out the door as well. And then, if they want to get really down to the studs, they could also trade Sean Murphy because he's very valuable. He's got 4 years of control. They could also potentially, it would be very mean, but
to A's fans. You're also trying to uproot the team while you're trading like the only good young guys you have. Like that's just like
it is a great time to. Well, what are they going to re-sign him, Brice? Get him out.
He's got 4 years. He's got 4 years. You can.
Yeah, there's no way they're going to re-sign him. But
they don't re-sign anybody.
My thing is, if you're going to trade guys, trade everybody and just really restock. Really go for that next competitive window, because we've seen the half in, half out kind of thing where when they're bad, they're still like a 70-win team or a 75-win team. I'm like, no, if you're going to be bad, be bad. That's what I hope, because then hopefully there is like a middling prospect in there that turns into a solid production guy for the next competitive window. And just go for it. Just build up that depth, and let's see the A's compete in like 3 more years.
As someone who is currently in the middle of the full tear it down to the studs kind of rebuild, I gotta warn you, it's a lot uglier than even you think it is. Like it is incredibly painful to watch.
But did you do a full tear down to the studs? Because Joey Gallo was still on the team halfway through this season.
Yeah, and I also watched the back half of the season. It was brutal, man. It was brutal. I mean, outside of Joey, they didn't have anybody else to tear it down to the studs too. They just straight up cut Rugi, a guy who had like just completely fallen off the table. Like their whole next generation of stars.
Good though.
He was for a while. He was pretty good at hitting home runs and hitting home runs. That was it. That was what he did, and he did it pretty well. I mean, this was supposed to be the next generation. Joey Gallo was supposed to be leading. Actually, Jurickson Profar was supposed to be leading this team in the 2016 to 2020 era. Like this was supposed to be like the time for like Profar and Odor, and then you'd have Joey Gallo in right field, and then you would have Nomar Mazara as your DH, and you would have Lewis Brinson or Leody Taveras would already be ready instead of like almost ready that he has been. And Ronald Guzman would be crushing it at first base. And all of those guys just kept on not working out and not working out and not working out. Like the only one who really worked out and turned up to anywhere near his potential, and it's pretty much like the 95th percentile of what you thought Joey Gallo could be, is him. Everybody else kind of just like through like bad luck or with in Profar's case, injuries, or just like somehow in Nomar Mazara, the most like can't miss prospect in like or who they thought was like one of the most can't miss prospects of the last like 5-6 years, just didn't get any better and actively got worse as he got older. Hit like exactly 20 home runs for his first like I think 4 seasons, and then just was always a disaster on defense and just like didn't get any better at the plate. And it was like everyone was wrong on him. Everyone thought that he was going to be the next big thing, and he just wasn't. So So now the Rangers are in the midst of a rebuild. It's very hard to be the Rays that are just perpetually rebuilding and always good, or the Dodgers who are, doing what the Rays do, except actually spending money. It's very difficult to contend for an entire decade in a row. Even the Yankees kind of had a couple of seasons where they fell off, and they have more money than God.
They do. It's wild how bad they are sometimes, given the resources that no other team has besides them. And it's just the cachet of being a New York Yankee. And before we send it to our second break, I just am curious. Do you think that Joey Gallo was putting too much pressure on himself, or that he just wasn't a fit in New York? What do you think happened with his struggle? And I'm not trying to, call out Joey Gallo or anything, but I feel like you would know him better than most Yankee fans would because you watched him for a bunch of seasons. What do you think happened?
Well, yeah, no, Joey and I are close personal friends.
Yes,
And he
yes.
told me the reason that he sucked was because he put his uniform on weird. That's what a NewJersey.com guy wrote. So that must be true. No, a large part of it, I talked with Stace about this because I'm like, this is not really like, that's not Joey. And he had that stretch towards the back half of the season, in case you missed, where he hit like, I think 10 home runs in like 10 games. He just was absolutely on fire. And of course that was right in the middle of when he played the Rangers for the first time. And hit a home run against the Rangers, which I wanted him to, and also made me cry a little bit. Not a little bit, but a lot bit. But they're trying to hit him leadoff, which, like, theoretically, it makes sense. Like, having a leadoff guy with some pop. Shin-Soo Choo was a great leadoff guy, and he had, like, a little bit of pop, like 20-ish to 25 home runs about a season, and walked a whole lot, got on base. He was actually a pretty good he still is a pretty good base runner, which you don't think for a guy who's 6'5" at his size. But he's a smart base runner. He's on base a whole lot, and he hits bombs. Like, that's a really great idea for a leadoff guy. But he's like, I'm not comfortable in it. Like, this is not me. I have not ever done this. Like, I feel much more comfortable, like, hitting third or fourth or fifth. And so, like, can y'all please hit me there? And for the first, like, month or 3 weeks or whatever, they were hitting him leadoff. And so he wasn't doing very well. That and all the changes of, like, he's been with the Rangers since 2012. So, like, it's a big change for him. So I think that's part of the reason why. Also, I'm sure he put a lot of pressure on himself because he grew up a Yankees fan. Not that, like, all kids aren't like, oh, I'm a Yankees fan, but, like, his family is from, they immigrated from Italy to New York and were, like, big Yankees fans growing up. So I know wearing the pinstripes meant a lot to him, means a lot to him. Yeah. Even though it hurts my feelings personally. But I think all that contributed. And then, like, he found it towards the back half of the stretch, but he gets so much unreasonable flack in wherever he goes because he strikes out a lot and because people are still thinking it's the 1920s. Like, oh, well, his batting average, he's only hitting 216. He sucks. It's like, do you know that there's so much more? Did you not watch Moneyball? It's on base. It is
That's
on
what
base.
Matters.
And he led the American League in walks this year. He also had, I think, 37 or 38 home runs this season. He also did he just win it, or he won a Gold Glove last year? And I think
no idea.
I think he won. I'm not sure if they announced it yet for this year, but he's a finalist. And I think
they announced the Gold Gloves on Sunday night, I believe.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
No idea who won. I know that the A's got a couple, and with Chapman and Sean Murphy, but I legitimately do not care about the awards.
Yeah, they're kind of, for the most part, they can be erroneously awarded.
Well, and also, if the A's aren't in the awards, then I really. Oh, Freddie Freeman and Jose Abreu won in the shortened season? Don't care. Does it even count? No.
Yeah.
It does. Counts. It does. I just like being
counts a little bit.
Yeah.
It counts less, but it still counts a little bit. But yeah, let's take this quick break here, this word from our sponsors, and then when we come back, we'll have all kinds of fun things.
I have a question for you when we come back. This is going to be fun.
And we are back. Yeah.
For those of you that are listening to the podcast and not watching the YouTube feed, we said, yeah, we'll be right back. And then he took a beat and then said, we're right back. And
I said we'd be right back, and I meant it.
Yeah.
Literally right back.
We deliver on promises here at Locked On, you guys.
You gosh darn
Also,
right.
I gotta say, thank you, Bryce, for making Locked On A's your first listen each and every day, because Locked On A's is free and available on all platforms.
I love doing that for you, and I appreciate you making Locked On Rangers your first listen of the day. Big appreciator of your work. I know that you appreciate mine.
Oh, every day. Every day. First thing in the morning, I'm like, what's Bryce up to? What's he talking about? It's a good time. But I do want to know what you're talking about. That was loud. I'm sorry. The Rangers GM, who is not John Daniels, I learned that yesterday, I believe. It's Chris Young, the tall guy that used to be a pitcher. He's in the Rangers front office. Totally forgot about that. I remember hearing that news, and then I just put it out.
I think it was the start of the 2020 season. It's
That
been
might have been
a minute.
Yes.
But
you know, people still think that Billy Beane is the GM of the A's, and he hasn't been for years. So, you know, same sort of thing. But you know, John Daniels kind of knows what he's doing sometimes.
He does.
On paper, he knows what he's doing. In the actual plan and like adjusting, I think he's done fine. It doesn't matter. We're not getting into John Daniels discussion. The current GM of the Texas Rangers,
he's the president of baseball operations, so he's still in charge. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's still totally in charge. But Chris Young said, quote, "Time to buy stock in the Texas Rangers," end quote. And stonks means rocket ships. Are the Rangers going to the moon? Are you buying stock in the Texas Rangers this offseason?
Am I buying stock for next year?
Yes.
Well, no, I'm not buying stock for next year. I'm buying stock for like several years down the road. The good thing about buying stock in the Rangers right now is it's dirt cheap because they are terrible. They are quite terrible. So the stocks, like, they have nowhere to go but up. Literally, like, the worst record in baseball, I think, over the past 2 seasons combined. I think so, depending on how much worse the Pirates were than the Rangers in 2020. I'm not sure.
Record, Bryce.
Sure, it's close, but I don't know. The Pirates at least had like some bright spots, like at the end of the season, still good players on their team, like really good players, not just like, yeah, pretty good. Like, there's a lot of pretty good. I don't want to say a lot of. There's a few pretty good players on the Rangers left, but like, next year is going to be bad. You don't lose 100 games and then immediately come back. That does not happen. It's happened, like, I think once, where a team lost 100 games and then made the postseason the next year, and I believe it was the Minnesota Twins. And you know, it happened in the last like 10 years. So of course they got swept out of the first round because that's what the Twins do in the postseason. But they still made the playoffs. If you told me today that the Rangers would be in the playoffs this upcoming season and be swept out of the first round, I'd be like, hell yeah, I will take that in a heartbeat. But no,
on board.
If you're buying stock for next season, you're going to be sad. It honestly doesn't matter who they get next year, unless they get like all 3 of those big shortstops, all like 3 really good starting pitchers, and then like a couple of outfield bats. Like, they're still going to be bad. Probably not 100 loss bad next year, but still at least 90 to 95 losses, I think. It takes multiple years to get out of the rebuild. And there are some good young players on the way. Josh Young's going to be pretty good, but he's also still going to be a rookie. Cole Winn, who's their top pitching prospect, might be up around the midpoint or towards the end of next season. But again, he's still going to be a rookie, even though he'll probably be a pretty decent one. He's still going to be a rookie. So I don't know. Next year is still going to be rough, and I appreciate Chris Young's confidence in himself in that. And they've also talked a lot about, like, we're going to spend a whole bunch of money. And I'm like, you have not spent a whole bunch of money since signing Shin-Soo Choo in 2014. And that contract just came off the books this year.
That they could be spending like $100 million for the 2022, like adding $100 million for next year's payroll, I think is that what I read?
Or
is it just like in contracts this offseason?
That's
those are two
the
very
top
different
level.
things.
No. I think that is what they're aiming for, because you know how much payroll is on there for next year? Like nothing. Like basically nothing. It's all guys who are arbitration eligible, or you know, not even eligible for arbitration yet, so they're still earning league minimum. Like, there are basically no contracts for next year. Like, but the last time they spent more than $30 million on a contract was, like I said, Shin-Soo Choo in 2014. And that $30 million contract was 3 years, $30 million for Lance Lynn, which was a bargain. And they will need something kind of close to that of like reclaiming some of those gently used pitchers and kind of turning them around like they done with Kyle Gibson, Mike Minor, and Lance Lynn.
And turning them into Dane Dunning.
Yeah. Dane Dunning's a really solid starter. Like he had he's pretty solid. And for a young guy, you got 5 years control of him. That might end up being more valuable than what it was like. I think when just 1 year of control that they gave him. Right? Yeah, but he signed an extension to go be with them. But like they had a good relationship with him. There was some thought that he might think about coming back to Texas had he not signed that extension, just because he liked it here so much. Same with Kyle Gibson, he loved it here. But obviously he was a good pitcher, and so there is no room for you to be good here for nothing. So go try and be good for the Phillies. Didn't work out quite as well for the Phillies, but like, he was still solid. I think San Diego could have used him a whole lot, but that's neither here nor there. But
so in reading over MLB, I don't know why I keep calling them Major League Baseball trade rumors. It's MLB trade rumors, you guys. I've said it the last 2 episodes. It's very annoying to me. I don't know why. I've never said Major League Baseball trade rumors before 2 days ago, but they did their top 50 free agents and the predictions. They ranked them, and then they predicted where these guys would end up.
I'm laughing for a reason, not laughing at you, but like I was playing, every time I hear MLB trade rumors, I was playing Rocket Leagues with this guy, with some random guy and like a couple of my friends, and we were down like 5 goals and like a minute left, and just in the chat he's just like, would anyone like to discuss MLB trade rumors? I'm like, what is this guy?
The site in general,
just MLB trade rumors. I don't know. He didn't provide more context. I just said yes, and he's like, oh, I got nothing else. So every time I hear that, and randomly with my friends, I'm like, would you like to discuss MLB trade rumors?
I mean, there was definitely a time before I started like actually following stuff where I'd be like, you got to type something into Google to find out what you want. You're like, I don't know, MLB rumors, literally the name of their site is what I would be typing so that I could find out what the A's were up to. And there you go. Get those keywords, everybody. But there was a few guys of note that they said could end up on the Texas Rangers this offseason. I'm going to read them to you. One of these guys don't have a lot of intel on because he is from an international league, but we're going to say, hey, which one do you think is going to sign with the Rangers? Which 2, 3? How many guys are signing with them? So let's go over these names real quick. We got Trevor Story of the Colorado Rockies. Well, not anymore. He's a free agent. Pretty good guy. Pretty good player. Then you got Nick Castellanos. Very nice bat. Kind of okay on defense, but nice offense. Nice offensive addition right there. Then you got Javi Baez.
Nick Castellanos, elite meme maker. Elite. Unmatched. Every single home run. And there's a drive by Nick Castellanos to left field. Oh my gosh. Literally might be the greatest baseball meme this century.
Yeah. Oh no, we'd have so much fun with that if he was in the AL West. Javi Baez is third on that list, and a couple of people put him on the Rangers. We'll get into that in a sec. Then there's Saya Suzuki. I believe he was playing in the
in Japan. He was with Hiroshima.
I was like the Japanese league. Yes.
Nippon Professional Baseball. He's been with Hiroshima since 2013 when he was 18. So he's 26 years old, going to be 27 this season. Very, very much excited about that guy.
Yeah. And then there is some guy, Kershaw. Is that how you say it? Is it Kershaw?
Kershaw. Like in Cars.
Kershaw. Clayton Kershaw, everybody. That is another player that is being projected to potentially go to the Texas Rangers. And I'm not saying that he's going to the Rangers because who's the guy that does all these types of things for The Athletic? Is it Bill Bowden? Is that Jim Bowden?
Oh,
is that the guy?
Jim Bowden, Ralph. Yes.
Yeah, that's the guy. He definitely did a similar piece after MLB trade rumors put theirs out, and I was like, hey, I'm going to read this. Who's going to the A's? It's nobody. Spoiler.
You got to spend money to sign free agents, so not the A's.
Yeah, it is not them. But he said Dodgers, Dodgers, Dodgers. Those are the three teams for Clayton Kershaw. And so apparently he thinks that it's the Dodgers, or he didn't put any effort into it whatsoever. Which one do you think it was? And MLB trade rumors had for Clayton Kershaw, and so I thought that, and also no Dodgers. I think the Phillies were the other team that they had him on. So
what? No.
Of these five players, which one do you want the most? And who do you think of all of these five players? You can choose all five if you want to. How many of them are ending up on the Texas Rangers for 2022? Go Brice Paterik.
Okay, so you said Story, who is a Irving native, which is where the Cowboys used to play before they got their new stadium in Jerry World. So he's honestly number three of the big three shortstops. I don't even put Javi Baez in that category. I don't think Javi Baez is signing with the Rangers.
He is number five of the big five.
Yeah, of this five. Number one, I gotta say Kershaw. Like, it's the emotional appeal. Like, I absolutely love Clayton Kershaw. Like, all the time the last few years before Vince Scully retired. Whenever I started getting MLB TV, I would stay up late and watch Clayton Kershaw pitch, and one of the greatest broadcasters in the history of sports would be calling one of the greatest pitchers in the history of sports, and he is from my hometown. Like, he grew up and went to the same high school that my mom went to and her parents went to. Like, it is a very personal connection, and also he's one of the greatest pitchers of all time, like that too. Plus he'd have a huge impact on all these young guys like Dane Dunning, like Taylor Hearn, like the young guys that are going to be coming up eventually with Jack Leiter and like I said, Cole Winn. So yeah, I mean, he's number one.
And just real quick, since we're talking about your mom, Becky Paterik, who I'm sure.
Oh my gosh!
How's it going, Becky? If you want a like on Twitter from Becky Paterik, all you got to do is make fun of her son on Twitter.
Hold on. Speaking of my mom, thank you for reminding me of this. It's this will be going up on Thursday for me. So this is November 11th. It is my mom's birthday. So happy birthday, Mom. Love you. I guess I will see you later tonight. If you've listened to this today. If not, then it's a happy belated birthday. But I've told you in person. So I'll be sure to cover that base. But yeah. Want to give a shout
Becky,
out to my mom.
Happy birthday from Locked On A's. I also love you.
like the older son she never had.
But legitimately though, when I make fun of you on Twitter, and like a light jab, and she likes it, it makes me so happy. It really does. Like, I just get the notification, Becky Paterik like this. I'm like, thanks, Becky. That really so very happy birthday.
Gosh.
To the one, the only Becky Paterik.
Yes, she is the number one fan of mine, which I appreciated. It's nice to have that. But anyway, we were talking about, I completely forgot, Clayton Kershaw and how much I love him and Highland Park. That's where we got derailed. There we go. I can always pinpoint the trail of my derailment. Okay, so you had Javi Baez is fifth, Clayton's number one. Who was the There's some
Castellanos
and Castellanos. Okay,
and Suzuki are the other
Suzuki. Two. Okay, Castellanos, I had to put number two. For memeability, like alone, like that is like top tier. I would have something that brought me almost as much joy as a Joey Gallo home run. Like that's about as close as you can get, especially when they're was it to left field? I'm assuming because he's more pull heavy guy.
Yes, it was to left field.
And there's a drive by Castellanos left. Like every single time, it would be amazing. Also, he keeps doing it during these like big moments, like of games and whatever. Like it's just he has impeccable timing. Also, maybe a bunch of bad things will start happening to me while when Castellanos is homering. But you know what? If it continues the meme, I will suffer through those things just because I will laugh through the misery. Like, oh, Nick, you got to stop homering. My leg fell off. Come on, man. But I think it'd be worth it. So I had to put him number two. Suzuki, I have just only recently learned about him, but I am thrilled with what he has done. This year, he put up 38 home runs in the MPB. He was a Gold Glover, had a 1,075 OPS, an on base of 436, hit 320, had more walks than strikeouts, 88 walks and 87 strikeouts. Those are all the things that you look for in guys in lesser quality leagues than Major League Baseball to be doing well. That might make them succeed in this league. He has 189 career home runs, 182 in the highest level. I guess he has 7 of the lower level when he was rehabbing or whatever in 900 games. So the power's really come on the last couple of years. Didn't hit as many when he was like 18, 19, 20, which, happens because you're 18, 19, 20. You're less big boy strong than you are lately. But he hit 25 home runs in 118 games last year, 28 the year before, and 30 the year before that. So he's been above 25 home runs at least since 2016. So that's a lot of consistency in that power coming on since he turned 21. So I like him. I would put him number 3 on this list. He is going to be 27. Castellanos is 30, I think. I think that's right.
Sure. That sounds about right.
Anyway, we'll say that's right. You could double check me, but why would we do
doing
that?
stuff? I'm nodding into the camera currently, so.
Important nodding stuff. I got to make that eye contact. But yeah, I think Suzuki would be 3rd. If it wasn't for the memes, I'd put him above Castellanos, but like the memes are a strong consideration when your team sucks, like just something goofy that makes you happy a whole lot.
You want to have fun.
That's like some serious consideration. Like, I hate that I'm saying that, but it kind of is. So then
he will be 30 for next season. Correct.
Boom. I am a genius.
Just in case you wanted to wish him a happy birthday, it's March 4th.
I'll write that on my calendar if he is a Texas Ranger. If not, then
with little hearts around
I'll
it.
just something like that. If not, then I'll just hit a drive to deep left field to honor his spirit. Then 4th, I would say Trevor Story. Of the big 3, like Javi Baez has been a pretty good player, but he is very clearly on the decline. He's got some big holes in his game. He's very fun, very exciting, made some really fun plays that made, who was it that he made look really stupid in that play? Was it did he
Pirates
do that?
first baseman?
Oh, it was the Pirates. It was the Pirates that he did it too. Yeah.
And then they let go of him, and I think that he ended up in like Korea.
Yeah,
I may have made the last part up, but they definitely like DFA'd him shortly thereafter. I felt bad.
You got to DF him like that. Like you could pull him from the game. Like you are done. Like you don't get to play bait. Like that is just an all-time stupid and delightful moment. So that's why he's.
But 5. I had also read that his defense was actually really, really good. It was just like a 2-second mental thing. And I was like, oh, that poor guy. Yeah, that's all that he's going to be remembered for. And he'd actually been pretty solid. So.
Yeah, it's a bummer. But Story is 4th. I have concerns about how long he's going to hold up at shortstop. He is the oldest of those big 3. I believe he's 29 this year, and Correa is like 26 or 27. And Seager's a little bit older than Correa. Seager would be my top choice. I don't want the stink of someone involved in that Houston cheating scandal who I really liked before. Like I really liked Carlos Correa. I really genuinely thought he was a great dude. And then he started leaning into the whole heel thing. And it's just like, okay, like you're being a D-bag. Like it's not cute. Like I know it's going to endear you to Houston, but you're going to leave them after this year. They offered you a 5-year deal. It's like,
I am very intrigued to see how, assuming he does not sign with Houston.
Oh, he's not.
He goes to
there's
Detroit.
No way.
Detroit's one team that could be going after his services because they're still, they're on the up and up. How those fans treat their new free agent acquisition, I assume that they'll love him, especially if it's Detroit, because they're like, hey, we spent big money. This is our new guy. But I mean, they
brought in AJ Hinch.
Got him.
They brought in AJ Hinch. So, I mean,
true.
That's why the connection makes sense. Also, they're going to be spending a bunch of money. Also, their shortstop's terrible. Also, their whole entire offense was just ghastly.
It was Robbie Grossman, and that was it. No,
it was Robbie Grossman, and then a little bit of who was their rookie? Akil Baddoo.
He was good.
Super fell off a table. Like Adolis Garcia kind of fell off the table in the back half, but Akil Baddoo fell off the table onto the curb, like rolled all the way down the hill of the street. Like he fell off super hard. I still think he's going to be a pretty good player, but like, man, that back
Thanks.
half was really rough for him. He started super well though, but yeah, you told me in like May that he wouldn't even be like a top 5 rookie of the year candidate. I would have been like, that's kind of nuts.
Wild, right? Well, that's what happens every year, though. There's always some guy that gets out to like a hot start, and then you're like, okay, and then maybe they're an all-star, maybe they're not, and then they suck. That's baseball every year, buddy.
That's the way
Boom.
baseball go.
All right, so I got one last question. What is one big move that you think that the Rangers will make? What 100% certainty is going down? Please don't let it be Clayton Kershaw, because we already talked about that. Or what is the one thing that you're hoping for as a Ranger, aficionado for this offseason? It doesn't have to be an acquisition, but something that you're looking for as a Ranger person.
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm looking forward to Josh Young being a Texas Ranger next year. That's gonna be really fun for me. There's also a chance his younger brother Jace Young, who plays I think second base at Tech. Jace and Josh Young. Young is spelled with a J in case you didn't know. Yes. Jung. All the JJs. There's a chance that he will be who the Rangers pick with the number 3 overall pick in next year's draft, because he is also super good at baseball. But of the guy we already talked about, most everybody that I'm super excited for. But actually, you know what? I'm actually going to talk about hitting coach, the new hitting coach, and the new offensive coordinator. I honestly can't remember their names. You can help me look them up. But sorry, I'm like, I can tell you all about these guys, but I forget like the names. That's the weird part of my ADD brain. Is like, oh yeah, I can tell you all about this guy. I'll meet somebody. Like, yeah, I can tell you everything about that conversation. Like, yeah, they went to high school here. They graduated, and this year they went to this college and majored in this, and then they moved here, and they have some friends, whatever. What's the person's name? I don't know.
Tim Hires.
Tim Hires is the new hitting coach who they got from Boston, but the new bench coach, who is also their offensive coordinator, who is the former Giants hitting coach. So offensive coordinator in this sense is basically redesigning their entire hitting program. If you can look that up.
Was it Hensley Mullins?
No.
No, okay, not that far back. I just typed. Well, first off, I typed in Rangers new coach, and then I got a bunch of East Coast bias with the New York Rangers, and I was like, no, wrong team. Again, use your keywords, friends. Texas Rangers is what I'm looking for.
It's not Don Wakamatsu. Dang it! I'm looking in my notes. Oh my gosh,
Ecker.
That's the one. Donnie Ecker.
Yeah.
Sorry, Donnie Ecker.
I'm just looking for names in these headlines. I'm like, nope, I know who that is.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Wakamatsu was there from. He was a bench coach since 2018 and had been a part of the organization for a long time. But Ecker really revolutionized the Giants' offense. They were among the worst at hitting fastballs the year before he got there. And then he did away with pitching, with coaches throwing batting practice, and started using pitching machines. And they saw a whole lot of improvement against hitting against fastballs. And so I think that, combined with getting the guy who has been coaching a very good Boston Red Sox offense since, I believe, 2018, not that the Rangers have the personnel that's quite as good as the Red Sox, but you also have to have a good hitting coach to help them do well. And
would you have argued that the Giants had the personnel going into 2021? Probably not. They had Darren Ruff. They went out and got what's his face, Lights Out or After Dark, the junior guy. I forget his name now. Baseball's over, and I forgot everything that I learned in 2021. Yeah, he was. But really
they had a bunch of old
Lamont Wade Jr. There you
go. That's the one. Yeah, no, they had a bunch of old guys who were considerably past their prime that all had career seasons. Buster Posey, which we now realize part of that was him just completely emptying the tank because he knew that he was going to be done after this year. Brandon Belt absolutely bounced back. Brandon Crawford bounced back as well. Evan Longoria, hasn't been good since he got to San Francisco. I think not disrespecting him, but he kind of fell off. But all these guys took huge steps forward, and I'm like, okay, well, the Rangers don't have these guys who have had as good a careers as, nobody has a guy who's had a good career as Buster Posey, really. They don't have anybody like Brandon Belt, like Brandon Crawford, like an Evan Longoria with that track record of being good once that have fallen off and get them to take next steps. But, they also did pretty well with some of the younger guys. I'm trying to think of Wade Lamont Jr. is obviously one of them. Talkman didn't work as well, but where's the other guy? Is it just Wade Lamont Jr. that I'm thinking of that really had a breakout year?
Lamont Wade.
Maybe I was doing the comma first name, last name first thing. Whatever.
Darren Ruff was good. They had a bunch of guys that just were like, oh, that guy? Okay, cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so like the Rangers have guys that like have shown they've shown promise. Like Nathaniel Lowe has shown promise. If he can hit, that's the thing I'm most excited about, because Nathaniel Lowe couldn't hit fastballs. He could hit breaking balls. He could recognize spin, off-speed stuff. He was pretty good against. Couldn't hit fastballs. So if he can hit fastballs, he'll be really stinking good. Nick Solak hasn't quite lived up to his potential. I don't know if he has a starting spot, depending on where they move IKF, or maybe they start him at second and IKF comes off the bench. Willie Calhoun is a guy who just has had bad luck through injuries and whatever. When he's been healthy, hasn't been able to quite put it together. And so was a huge hitting prospect with the Dodgers, who the Rangers got for Yu Darvish all those years ago. And he's just like one thing after another. So I think they can help with that. I'm excited to see what this offense does next year, because it was really rough this year, especially when Joey Gallo was gone. But they've got pretty much nowhere to go but up. So, yeah, I guess that's the thing I'm most looking forward to next year for the Rangers. What about you? What are you most looking forward to next year from the A's? You could say nothing. It would be kind of wrong, but
I have no reason to be excited right now. Let's see what happens. Okay, because I'm pretty sure they'll still be on the team, and that is not something that I can say about a lot of guys, because they have 13 free agents, so they're looking for like half a new team, and then they might trade another 5 or 6. So there's one guy that I know will be on this team, and that is Seth Brown. And is he somebody to get super excited about? I don't know. But he did have the same home run per plate appearance rate that Matt Olson had this year. So can he hit lefties? That's my question. I want him to hit lefties and become a bigger part of the A's offense. That's what I want. And maybe hit for more average. I know that we don't talk about hitting for average, but if you can become a little bit more,
you can't even say bad. You're an A's podcast. You can't even say the words batting average. It's like a worse than a swear.
Well, here's the reason that I do say batting average is because yes, on base is wonderful.
Is it because you're a bad boy and you don't care about the rules?
Yeah, I'm such a bad boy. Because as a we're gonna cut that out, put that afterwards too. Because I've watched the A's for the last 21 years. I mean, I've watched them since Moneyball, and before Moneyball too. But just timeline doesn't matter. Anyways, I've seen them do it the way that they've been doing it, and other teams have won using Moneyball principles. But you watch a team like the Houston Astros, it's because they can put the ball in play. They can get those hits. And if you can go first to third as opposed to getting hit or having a walk and go and just moving the guy over to second base, that puts more pressure on the pitcher. And so that's why I think batting average does play a role. You do want guys that can hit the ball occasionally and hit a little bit higher than 220 or 230. If you can get somebody that hits 260, 270, I'm a little bit more excited about that player, because regardless of if the on base is the same or not, I think that having the batting average helps a little bit in certain situations where if they come up with the bases loaded and they get a walk, sure. But if they get a base hit, that could be 3 runs as opposed to 1. There is a difference for me in those scenarios. And I think that that's kind of where the A's have been falling a little bit more flat of late. And so that's why batting average matters a little bit to this guy. Wow. But also Seth Brown. Keep an eye on Seth Brown.
You're a darn fool, and because we have different opinions, I now hate you. We are sworn enemies for life.
I know, but I've watched the Astros too many times. Just keep getting singles and then putting up 7 runs. You don't have to get a bunch of home runs all the time. There are different ways to construct an offense.
It's easier to get singles when you know what's coming. I mean, they don't do that anymore. True. Just kidding. Completely exonerated. Never done another bad thing ever.
But the other thing that I am most excited about is subscribing to the Locked On Texas Rangers podcast, because Brice Paterik does a fantastic job each and every day on YouTube. So subscribe to the subscribe to that if you don't, because he's wonderful. And you get to see that face. If you're already on YouTube, check out that face. And if you're not on YouTube yet, oh man, are you in for a treat?
Yeah, it's even a face in 1080 now. I don't know if I'll do it for the next episode, but like, I don't know, this one felt special. I felt like, the higher resolution meant higher quality content. I don't know, something like that. But also go subscribe to Locked On
this
A's.
Is coming through. Yes, subscribe to my podcast too. But also Brice.
To Locked On Rangers. This one right here.
That one right there, or down if you're there as well.
There we go. Pointing is good.
Yeah, there you go. That's the one that you're blocking with your head. Your beautiful, beautiful head. Also subscribe to Locked On A's wherever you like to hear podcasts. We're on YouTube as well. So many subscribers. It's going so well. It's blowing up to the moon. All that stuff. Also, thank you guys so much for making it Locked On A's and Locked On Rangers, or either or. I guess you're not listening to both of these all the way through. Thank you guys for making either of these podcasts your first listen of the day. Now go make Locked On Bets. Let's say Locked On Bets, your second listen of the day. They're giving you guys all the advice you need to make all of the best bets and make all of the monies. That's Locked On Bets, and you can find them free and available on all platforms. Brice, where can the people find you on social media, and what are you up to lately?
Well, you can find me on Twitter.com at Brice Paterik. That's Brice and I, Paterik with no C. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see it there. I guess I'm mostly tweeting about dumb things, as always. College football a lot on Saturdays.
Ted Lasso for sure.
Ted Lasso. I'll rewatch Ted Lasso like way too often. So it's going to be a long time since the next season. So I need to pace myself. But all kinds of good stuff. Where can the fine folks listening to Locked On Rangers find you and your work, Mr. Jason Burke?
I mean, I'm on this podcast a lot. This being the Rangers podcast. Locked On A's is the name of the show. Subscribe to it wherever you like to hear podcasts. We're on all platforms. I am at @ByJasonB on Twitter. And if you guys have any questions, lockedonathletics@gmail.com. My wife and I are like 6 weeks away from a baby. So fill up my mailbag, please, so I can get ahead of some content. And then also the show is at Locked On A's on Twitter and Instagram. So that is those are all of those plugs. But I guess without further ado, I'll do my sign off and you do your sign off, and then we'll see whose is better. You guys can vote down in the comments below on YouTube. But that's all that I got for you guys today. So until next time, go out and celebrate good times, Oakland, and I will talk at you tomorrow. And then you do yours, and this will be fun.
That'll do it for this edition of Locked On Rangers. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.
Oh, that's nice. That's so sweet.
It's also a reminder for myself, as well as my guests, as well as my listeners. So it's kind of a reminder for all of us, because you can forget to enjoy baseball, getting pent up and all
watching the Rangers. Yes.
Yeah. Enough for our actual outro. Peace outie.
I love you, Becky.